Welcome to all of you. This video is a presentation on the topic Emerging Trends. This is Unit 5th of the book Information Practices for the students of class 11th. This video is presented by me, that is Shilpi Rani. I am PGTIT at Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya, Guntur, Andhra Pradesh. So in this video we will cover the following topics. First is artificial intelligence. In this topic we will know about what is artificial intelligence. There are subtopics like what is machine learning, natural language processing, what is immersive experience, and we will discuss something about robotics. The next topic we will cover big data. Inside this we will cover what is big data, what are different properties of big data, and what are the uses of this big data and the current challenges. Then the third topic is Internet of Things. In this topic we will understand what is Internet of Things. Subtopics are Web of Things, sensors, and what is the concept of smart cities. Fourth topic is cloud computing. Here we will understand what is cloud computing, what are different services of cloud computing, and the subtopic we will cover what is grid computing. And the last topic of this video is blockchain technology. In this we will understand what is blockchain technology and why this technology is useful, how this blockchain technology is working. So let's begin our topic. So our first topic is artificial intelligence. So first we will understand what is the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence endeavors to stimulate the natural intelligence of human beings into machines, thus making the machines behave intelligently. An intelligent machine is supposed to imitate some of the cognitive functions of humans like learning, decision making, and problem solving. In order to make machines perform tasks with minimum human intervention, they are programmed to create a knowledge base and make decisions based on the knowledge base. Artificial intelligence system, they can also learn from their past experience or outcomes to make the new decisions. So from here we understand what is artificial intelligence is to make a machine to take decisions based on the database or knowledge base of the machine, which is created by the machine itself. This knowledge base is a store of information which may consist of facts, assumptions, and rules which an artificial intelligence system can use for decision making. So next topic we will learn about what is machine learning. So machine learning, it is a subsystem of artificial intelligence wherein computer have the ability to learn from the data using statistics techniques without being explicitly programmed by a human being. So simply we can explain machine learning, it is a subsystem of artificial intelligence where our computers or machine, they have the ability to learn from the data by their own. It is not programmed by the human being, means how they will work, It is not programmed by the human being. It comprises algorithms that uses data to learn on their own and make predictions. So the algorithm or program that will be fed in these machines are about to make them learn from the data on their own. These algorithms are not about what they have to do, but to make them learn from the data and do the decision making process. These algorithms are called models, and the machine are first trained and tested using a training data and testing data respectively. After successive training, once these models or algorithms are able to give results to an acceptable level of accuracy, they are used, that means machines are used to make predictions about new and unknown data. So next topic is natural language processing. In short, we can call it NLP. What is natural language processing? First, we will understand this. Natural language processing system deals with the interaction between human and computers using human spoken languages such as Hindi, English and many more. An natural language processing system can perform text to speech and speech to text conversion. This is one example of natural language processing system. The another example we can see of the NLP system is predictive typing feature of search engine that helps us by suggesting next word in the sentence while typing keywords, and the spell checking features are the examples of NLP systems. Another example of NLP system is machine translation, which is a rapidly emerging field where machines are able to translate text from one language to another with fair amount of correctness. Another emerging application area is automated customer services. So this word is clearly saying its meaning. Automated customer services is where a computer software can interact with customer to serve their queries or complaints. So in the nutshell, we can explain natural language processing is a software that make interaction between human and computer with the help of human spoken languages. And the different examples we can see of NLP system in our day-to-day life is conversion of text to speech or speech to text software, or predicting typing features of search engines, and third is machine translations, in which we can translate one language to other language using a software. So here in this picture you can see the examples of NLP system. Here a person is interacting with the computer with his voice, and this computer is understanding and it will do the actions as per the query. So here the second picture is of Google search engine, where if a person start typing, then the next word is shown by the search engine that will complete the sentence of the person. So this feature is called predictive typing. The third picture is about machine translation. Here some person has typed "How are you?" in English, and this software translate the same sentence in another language. This feature is called machine translation. So these are the examples of natural language processing. Next topic we will study is immersive experience. So first we will explain what is immersive experiences. Immersive experiences allow us to visualize, feel and react by stimulating our senses. It enhances our interaction and involvement, making them more realistic and engaging. Immersive experience have been used in the field of training such as driving simulators, flight simulators and so on. So here, before proceeding on, I should explain what is immersive experience. So immersive experience is a type of experience where a person interacts with a 3D screen or a 3D scenes, but it interacts with the help of some instruments or equipment. Like here a girl is interacting with the 3D scenes with the help of this VR headset, but she is feeling like she is interacting with a real environment. So this is known as immersive experience. So immersive experience makes this interaction more realistic and engaging. This lady is feeling that she is interacting with this artificial environment in a real world, like a real world. And the second picture is about driving simulator, where a person is interacting with a 3D scenes, like he is driving a bus or a car, but actually he is feeling he is driving this vehicle in reality. So this is called immersive experience. So immersive experience can be achieved using virtual reality and augmented reality. So I will explain you these two terms. First, I will explain what is virtual reality. Virtual reality is a three-dimensional computer-generated situation that simulates the real world. The user can interact with and explore that environment by getting immersed in it while interacting with the objects and other actions of the users. Actually, everything that we experience in our reality is perceived through our senses. So from this we can come to an idea that if we can present our senses with made up or non-real information, then our perception of reality would also alter in response to that. At present, this virtual reality can be achieved with the help of VR headset. In order to make the experience of VR virtual reality more realistic, it promotes other sensory information like sound, smell, motion, temperature and much more. So here in this picture, this is VR headset. So using this VR headset, a three-dimensional computer generated situation will appear like a real world to this man. And if we add the sensory information like sound, smell, motion and temperature, then this virtual reality will become more realistic. So this is a comparatively new field and has found its application in gaming, military training, medical procedures, entertainment, social science and psychology, engineering and other areas where simulation is needed for better understanding and learning. So now the second option to achieve immersive experience is augmented reality. So first we will understand what is this AR or augmented reality. The superimposition of computer generated perceptual information over the existing physical surroundings is called as augmented reality. So this AR adds component of the digital world to the physical world along with the associated tactile and other sensory requirements, thereby making the environment interactive and digitally manipulable. With the help of location-based augmented reality app, travelers can access real-time information of the historical places by just pointing their camera viewfinder to subjects. User can access information about the nearest places with reference to the current location. So here in this picture you can see the example of augmented reality. Actually this person is in a mall. So he just put his camera in front of a place and this augmented reality is showing the different venue or different details about this place. So it is the digitally created information over the physical environment. So this is called augmented reality. Unlike virtual reality, the augmented reality does not create something new. It just alters or augments the perception of underlying physical world through additional information. So from this picture you can understand that this physical world information is additionally increased by this digital information. So this is called augmented reality and its application is with the travelers or the user. They can explore about a place or they can access about the details of nearby places with reference to their current location. So next topic we will study about robotics. So first we will understand what is robot. A robot is basically a machine which is capable of carrying out one or more tasks automatically with accuracy and precision. A robot is a programmable, which means it can follow the instructions given through computer programs. And sensor is one of the prime components of the robot. With the help of sensor, it senses the details of physical environment and this data is processed by the internal programs of the robots and it produces the result with some accuracy and precision and perform some task according to that information, and that machine is called robot. Robots were initially conceptualized for doing repetitive industrial tasks that are boring or stressful for humans or were labor intensive. Robots can be of many types such as wheeled robot, legged robot, manipulators and humanoids robot. Robots that resembles with humans are called humanoid robots. Some examples of some famous robots which have been developed are NASA Mars Exploration Rover. So here in this picture you can see this NASA Mars Exploration Rover. This mission is a robotic space mission to study about the planet Mars. So NASA sent a rover to the Mars planet, and here you can see this rover will walk on this planet with the help of this wheel. So this is called wheeled robot. And here it is a cameras, high visualization cameras. From this it will take the pictures and send it to its space center. So this is one of the operation of this Mars rover. Next is Sophia. Sophia is a humanoid that use artificial intelligence, visual data processing and facial recognition, and also imitates human gesture and facial expression. So this Sophia is a humanoid robot. She uses artificial intelligence and the visual data, and she also behave like human beings. This Sophia robot recently visited BHU University in Varanasi. Next is a drone. Drone is an unmanned aircraft which can be remotely controlled or can fly autonomously through software controlled flight plans in their embedded systems, working in conjunction with the onboard sensors and GPS. So here in this picture you can see this is a flying drone, and it is unmanned aircraft. That means it can fly by its own with the help of GPS sensors and the software controlled program. Here you can see it is a camera from which it can take the photographs. So this robot, or we can call it as drone, are being used in many fields such as filming and aerial photography, search and rescue operations, health care, geographic mapping, structural safety inspection, agriculture, wildlife monitoring or poaching, besides law enforcement and border patrolling. So this is all about robots and the robotics. So robotics is primarily concerned with the design, fabrication, operation and application of the robots. So next topic we will study about big data. So first we will understand what is big data. Today there are over a billion of internet users, and a majority of the world's web traffic is coming from the smartphones. So this figure shows that at the current pace around 2.5 quintillion bytes of data are created each day, and the pace is increasing with the continuous evolution of the Internet of Things. So here in this picture you can see that in just 60 minutes, in this 60 seconds, these many data are generated from the various social sites like Skype, Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, Messenger, and many more like Netflix, YouTube, Google, emails, Instagram. In just 60 seconds, these many data are created in just 60 seconds. So this result in the generation of data sets of enormous volume and complexity, and this is called big data. Such data cannot be processed and analyzed using traditional data processing tools, as the data is not only voluminous but also unstructured. Big data not only represent volume data, it also involves various challenges like its integration, storage, analysis, searching, processing, transfer, query, and visualization of such big data. But this big data hold rich information and knowledge, which is of high business value. Therefore, there is a keen effort in developing software and methods to process and analyze big data. Next, we will know about some characteristics of big data. So here you can see a big data have 5 properties like volume, velocity, variety, veracity, and value. We will explain these characters one by one. So volume. The most prominent character of the big data is its enormous size. If a particular data set is of such large size, here you can see, if in 60 seconds this much data is generated, then in a single day you can expect how much data is generated. So if a particular data set is of such a large size that it is difficult to process it with traditional database management systems tools, then it can be termed as big data. Next is velocity. Velocity represents the rate at which the data under consideration is being generated or stored. Big data has an exponentially high rate of generation than traditional data sets. Third is variety. It asserts that a data set has a varied data such as structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. Like examples are text, message, images, videos, web pages, and so on. So there is a variety of data in big data. Fourth is veracity. Big data can be sometimes inconsistent, biased, and noisy, or there can be abnormality in the data or issue with the data collection methods. So veracity refers to the trustworthiness of the data, because processing incorrect data can give wrong results or mislead the interpretations. Fifth character is value. Big data is not only just a big pile of data, but it also possesses to have hidden patterns and useful knowledge, which can be of high business value. But as there is a cost of investment of resources in processing big data, we should make a preliminary inquiry to see the potential of the big data in terms of value discovery. Next, we will understand what is data analytics. Data analytics is the process of examining data sets in order to draw conclusion about the information they contain with the aid of specialized system and software. Data analytics are used in commercial industries to enable organizations to make more informed business decisions. In the field of science and technology, data analytics can be useful for the researchers to verify or disapprove scientific models, theory, or hypothesis. So big data is simply process of examining data sets in order to draw conclusions. From this picture, you can understand what is the data analytics. So next topic is Internet of Things. So first we will understand what is Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is a network of devices that have an embedded hardware and software to communicate with other devices on the same network. Here communication means connecting and the exchange of data. So that network of things which can communicate are known as Internet of Things. For examples, if a microwave oven and an air conditioner, door lock, CCTV camera or other such devices are unable to connect to the internet, we can access and remotely control them on the go using our smartphone. This is one example of Internet of Things. At present, in a typical household, many devices have advanced hardware, that is microcontrollers and software. These devices are used in isolation from each other with maximum human intervention needed for operational directions and the input data. So IoT or Internet of Things tends to bring together these devices to work in collaborations and assist each other in creating an intelligent network of things. So here with this picture you can understand, if all these equipment of a household are connected with the help of internet and they can be controlled remotely with minimum human intervention, then this will make an Internet of Things. Next subtopic we will understand what is Web of Things. So Web of Things allow the use of web services to connect anything in the physical world besides human identities on the web. So with Internet of Things, human can connect with the help of internet, but in Web of Things it allows use of web services to connect to the anything in the physical world. So it will pave way for creating smart homes, smart offices and smart cities and so on. So this is Web of Things. Next is sensors. A smart sensor is a device that take input from the physical environment and use built-in computing resources to perform predefined functions upon detection of specific input and then process data before passing it on. For example, what happens when we hold our mobile vertically or horizontally? Actually, what happens, the display also changes to vertical or horizontal with respect to the way we hold our mobile. So how this happens? This is possible with the help of two sensors, which are accelerometer and gyroscope. The accelerometer sensor in the mobile phones detects the orientation of the phone, and the gyroscope sensor tracks the rotation or twist of our hands and adds to the information supplied by the accelerometer. So, this evolution of the smart electronic sensors is contributing in a large way to the evolution of Internet of Things. It will lead to the creation of new sensor-based intelligent systems. Next, we will discuss about what is the concept of smart cities. Actually, what happened with rapid urbanization, the load on our city is increasing day by day, and there are challenges in the management of resources like land, water, waste, air pollution, health, sanitization, traffic congestion, public safety, security, besides the overall city infrastructure including rail, road, bridge, electricity, subways, disaster management, sports, facilities, and many more. These challenges are forcing many city planners around the world to look for smarter ways to manage them and make cities sustainable and livable. So, the idea of smart city ad is shown in this figure. Make use of computer and communication technology along with Internet of Things, Web of Things to manage and distribute resources efficiently. Here, this is a smart building shown here. It uses sensors to detect earthquake, tremors, and then warn nearby buildings so that they can prepare themselves accordingly. Here the smart bridge use wireless sensors to detect any loose bolt, cable or crack. It alerts concerned authorities through SMS. This is the smart tunnel. It also uses wireless sensors to detect any leakage or congestion in the tunnel. This information can be sent as wireless signals across the network of sensor nodes to a centralized computer for further analysis. So this is the concept of smart cities. So next topic we will study about cloud computing. So first we will understand what is cloud computing. Cloud computing is an emerging trend in the field of information technology where computer-based services are delivered over the internet, or this internet can be called as cloud, for the case of their accessibility from anywhere using any smart devices. The services may include software, hardware, database, storage, and much more. These services are provided by companies called cloud service providers and usually charge on pay per use basis. So here we understand cloud computing is simply delivery of computer-based services that may include software, hardware, database, storage, and any services over the cloud, so that the user can access these services sitting anywhere in the world. And these cloud services providers charges for using these services. So next we will discuss What are cloud services? A service corresponds to any facility provided by the cloud. There are three standard models to categorize different computing services delivered through the cloud. These three are infrastructure as a services, which can be called as IaaS. Second is platform as a services, which can be called as PaaS. And third is software as a services, which can be known as SaaS. So from here, this is a picture about cloud computing. Here many devices like servers with the storage, desktop computer, tablet, phones, laptops, they are all connected with the help of internet, and they are sharing the cloud services in between them. And the cloud services are of three types: software as a services, platform as a services, and infrastructure as a services. We will understand these services one by one. First is infrastructure as a services. So this infrastructure as a services providers can offer different kinds of computing infrastructures like servers, virtual machines, storage, backup facility, network components, operating systems, or any other hardware or software. Using IaaS from the cloud, a user can use hardware infrastructure located at a remote location to configure, deploy, and execute any software application on that cloud infrastructure. And thereby they can save the cost of software, hardware, and other infrastructures, as well as the cost of setting up, maintenance, and security. So here, instead of buying an infrastructure by their own, it is better to access that infrastructure on the cloud. So the cost of can be reduced for the user. Next services is platform as a services. Here PaaS provides a platform or environment to develop, test, and deliver software applications. In PaaS, the user has complete control over the deployed application and its configuration. It provides a deployment environment for the developers at much reduced cost, lessening the complexity of buying and managing the underlying hardware and software. We can understand this platform as a services by an example. Suppose we have to develop a web application using MySQL and Python. So to run this application online, we can avail a pre-configured Apache server from the cloud having MySQL and Python pre-installed. Thus, we are not required to install MySQL and Python on the cloud, nor do we have to configure the web server. So next is software as a services. So SaaS provides on-demand access to application software, usually require a licensing or subscription by the user. That kind of software can be provided on the cloud. For example, while using Google Doc, Microsoft Office 365, Dropbox, etc. to edit a document online, we use software as a services from the cloud. A user is not concerned about installation or configuration of the software application as long as the required software is accessible. Like platform as a services, a user is provided access to the required configuration settings of the application software that they are using at present. In order to utilize and harness the benefits of cloud computing, the Government of India has embarked upon an ambitious initiative, that is GI Cloud, which has been named as Meghraj, and this is the link where you can access the Meghraj or cloud computing services of the government. Next subtopic, we will understand what is grid computing. A grid is a computer network of geographically dispersed and heterogeneous computational resources. Unlike cloud, whose primary focus is to provide services, a grid is more application specific and creates a sense of virtual supercomputers with an enormous processing power and storage. The constituent resources are called nodes. These different nodes temporarily come together to solve a single large task and to reach a common goal. So simply we can understand grid is a network of different kind of resources or computational resources that will behave like a virtual supercomputer, and we can execute a large task which we cannot execute on a single computer with the help of the grid. And this grid will divide the task into subtasks in between the different nodes and complete the following task. Nodes, we can understand the different computing resources connected on a grid. So each resource is called node here. So grid can be of two types. First is data grid, that is used to manage large and distributed data having the required multi-user access. And second is CPU or processor grid, where processing is moved from one PC to another as needed, or a larger task is divided into subtasks and allotted to various nodes for parallel processing. So here we can understand the grid or the work that we perform on a grid computing can be of two types. One is data grid. By this we manage a very large amount of data that is used by many users, and it is hard to store it on a single computer. So management of that big data by a grid is known as data grid. Next grid is processor grid or CPU grid. This grid is for processing a very large task which cannot be processed on a single computer. So this processor grid will divide that task into subtasks and perform the parallel processing of the task and complete the desired function. So the grid provides an opportunity to solve computationally intense scientific and research problems without actually procuring a costly hardware. Every company or organization cannot go for buying a data server or storage servers or file server because its procuring cost and maintenance cost is very high. So that kind of problem like data processing or data storage, it can be done with the help of this grid computing. So to set up a grid by connecting numerous nodes or computational resources in terms of data as well as the CPU, a middleware is required to implement the distributed processor architecture. For this, the Globus toolkit, here is the link, is one of the such software toolkit that is used for building grids, and it is open source. It includes software for security, resource management, data management, communication and fault detection. So from here you can see the picture of grid computing. Here many different computational resources like printer, laptop, tablet, data storage, computer servers and database file servers, they all are connected by a grid, and they can manage a big data, or they can process a very large task by dividing it in the nodes, and they will do parallel processing, so they will complete the task in less amount of time. So next topic we will study is blockchain technology. So first we will understand what is this blockchain technology and why this technology is needed. So the digital transactions, they are performed by storing data in a centralized database, and the transactions performed are updated one by one on this centralized database. However, since all the data is stored on a central location, there are more chances of data being hacked or lost. So the rescue of this centralized database is blockchain technology. So this blockchain technology works on the concept of decentralized and shared database instead of centralized database, where each computer has a copy of database. A block can be thought as a secured chunk of data or a valid transactions. Each block has some data called its header, which is visible to every other node, while only the owner has access to the private data of the block. So blockchain can be defined as a system that allows a group of connected computers to maintain a single, updated and secure ledger. Each computer or node that participates in blockchain receives a full copy of database. It maintains an append-only open ledger, which is updated only after all the nodes within the network authenticate that transaction. So safety and security of the transactions are ensured because all the members in the network keep a copy of the blockchain. So it is not possible for a single member of the network to make changes or alter the data. So from this diagram you can understand the blockchain technology. Here suppose some computer request a transaction. The transaction can be of ticket booking or an banking transaction or can be of any type. So this transaction, we can suppose it is a block of data. It have two parts. One is header and other is its private contents. So the request is broadcast to all nodes in the network. That means all the nodes in the network which can process this transaction will get this request. Then the owner or authenticated service provider will perform this transaction of the user, and if that transaction is verified by all nodes, because all these nodes know the transaction header, and if all nodes verify that this transaction is okay, then the block get added in the already existing chain of the blocks. And if suppose in a banking transaction, a transaction on a single account is requested at the same time by two different computers. So by these two different computers, these requests will come to this node and it may be handled by different nodes. So when this transaction is broadcast to all nodes and these two nodes will find that they are performing the transaction on the same account, then they will not authenticate this transaction, because they will find out that one transaction is maybe done by an hacker. So they will reject the both transaction. So by this, the safety and security of transaction in a blockchain technology is secured. And after the authentication of the block or the transaction, it will added to the chain of the already existing transaction. And after authentication, this transaction will be completed. Means a ticket can be booked, or a bank withdrawal can be done, or an ATM withdrawal can be done, or deposit in a bank can be done. So this is about blockchain technology. So what are the applications of blockchain technology? We will study here. The most popular application of blockchain technology is in digital currency like Bitcoin, Satoshi and many more. In healthcare, better data sharing between healthcare providers would result in higher probability of accurate diagnosis, more effective treatments, and overall increased ability of healthcare organization to deliver cost-effective care. Another potential application can be for land registration records to avoid various disputes arising out of land ownership claims and encroachments. A blockchain-based voting system can solve the problem of vote alteration and other issues, since everything gets stored in a ledger. So voting can become more transparent and authentic. The blockchain technology can be used in diverse sectors such as banking, media, telecom, travel, hospitality and other areas. So this is all about blockchain technology. Simply, in a nutshell, we can say it will avoid or it come as a rescue of a centralized database system, because this centralized database system, all the data is stored in a central place. So there are many chances for the crash of this database or loss of this database. So if this database is stored on different places, or the copy of database is stored on many places, then if copy is lost at one place, then it can be recovered by the another place. So here the problem of centralized database is solved in blockchain technology. And the safety and security of transaction can be achieved by using the method of broadcasting a single transaction to all nodes. So each node can verify that yes, the transaction is secure. So almost we have completed all the topics in this session. If any confusion is there, you can ask. And as last, thank you for the cooperation.